I know. What is Delta 8? I still don't know what it is, but I do feel like if dope's right here, it must be right up under dope. And they may be sprinkled with LSD, maybe. She said, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to take one a night, and you got to be consistent over time with it. And I was like, okay. It scared me to death. And I got it in the car, and I thought, I better not drive fast. And I got it home, and Chuck Morgan was there. And I didn't tell him what I had done. And I went, hey. I got it and took it back and put it in my closet. And I waited until nightfall. And I was scared to death. I took a nibble off of one, just a nibble. I didn't even take a whole one, just a nibble. And I don't know if this was in my head, but 20 minutes later, my heart was beating out of my body. And I thought, oh my Lord, I'm in AFib. I'm in AFib. And I need to go to the emergency room right now. But I thought, I didn't tell Chuck Morgan what I'd done. And he's not going to know what to tell the doctor. Everything went through my head. Then I started thinking, the police are coming. The police are coming. I sat up until 2 a.m. monitoring my own heart rate. I eventually fell off to sleep, but it wasn't a good sleep. I wallered in the bed. And for all the people in the United States, wallering means I wallered in the bed. And I just wallered. I wallered all night in the bed and dreamed horrible things. I dreamed that me and John Wayne fought Ricardo Montalban on horseback all night. I've never taken another one of those gummies, but I didn't throw them away. They're in my closet. I don't make eye contact with them. I just walk by them. The second weekend we were in California, we went to Brea, which is beautiful too, and beautiful, sweet, precious people there too. And that was going to be the weekend that my baby child turned 25. And her daddy called me and said, I want to be with y'all. I'm going to buy a plane ticket and I'm coming out there. So I called my travel agent and I said, you better get another room. Because their daddy misses me. I don't know what it is about Chuck Morgan in a hotel room. But he gets in a hotel room, gets a glazed look over his eyes. And I feel like I'm doing this. And the reason why I had to get another hotel room is because this baby and I have been touring together. She's with me all the time. I've done 150 dates with her. And their daddy does not want me to spend money. And so we've had to share a room. So we've been butt to butt in a king-size bed everywhere we go. And all of my married life, Chuck Morgan has told me not to spend money and that we were going to lose everything. He's tried to scare me. And he's been in my ear. I can hear him saying, you better eat that free continental breakfast. Don't you dare go to Panera. But okay, so Chuck Morgan buys a really cheap airline ticket. He had to get up in the middle of the night and connect all over the United States of America. He finally gets there, and he is worn to a frazzle. And Chuck Morgan doesn't nap, but he napped on and off that day and watched Tennessee play basketball in the hotel room. And then I went to a club and worked 2 shows, and I was supposed to be thinking about new material, and all I could think of the whole time I was up there was, he's going to get a lot of rest. And I'm going to have to do unspeakable things all night so my baby will have a good birthday. I hate to even say that. If there's young girls in here that are 20 and 30, I hate to say that to y'all. But I want to be honest. I don't want to blow smoke up y'all's butthole. And I'm not saying y'all have to, but I have prostituted myself to Chuck Morgan. For over 34 years now. So my children would have good shoes. And Chuck's in the back tonight. He would love to come out here and say to y'all right now, uh-oh, y'all, Chuck Morgan's gonna get the big head. He would love to come out here right now and say to y'all, oh, don't worry, she hadn't been a good prostitute. That's what he'd say. Okay, y'all, when it was time to go out there, I thought I better take a notebook. I'm in my 50s. I can't think of my name. And I looked in my children's playroom. I'm still in the house I raised my children in. And I don't know if y'all got little girls, if they did this, but mine, when they were little, it didn't matter where we went, if it was Walgreens, Target, Walmart, wherever, they would say, I'm going to need a notebook. And it needs to be purple or pink, and it needs to have a heart on it. And then they would take it home and write one dramatic sentence in it, and then throw it away. Well, I've killed all those notebooks, and I found this little purple one with a heart on it, and my Maggie, my middle one, who is my most sensitive, had written a sweet note to her fourth grade teacher about how much she loved her and what she was going to buy her for Christmas. And that made me think of this. When I was a young mama, I always had a minivan. And Chuck Morgan was out making us a wonderful living, but he was gone traveling all over the United States. And I had these little children all close together, and everybody seems like they were always crying and whipping each other. And I would be white-knuckling it, trying to get somebody to a soccer practice that they really didn't want to go to. And everybody would be crying and yelling, and that sensitive baby, that middle one, would ask me deep, deep questions all the time. For example, questions about the solar system. And finally one day I said, baby, I didn't pay attention in school. Is there anything you'd like to know about Young and the Restless? And let me tell y'all, she went through a phase where she was worried that who was going to get to go to heaven. She wants everybody to go to heaven. And I remember her asking me about people, and everybody would be yelling in the back seat and hungry and all that, and her little voice would say, Mommy, is Johnny Cash going to heaven? I remember that day, and I remember what I said. I said, yeah. Yes, Johnny Cash is going to heaven. He and June have been spreading the gospel with Billy Graham all over the United States. Yes, he'll be in heaven. Okay, and I got to thinking about this when I was... and all this was in my mind. I've got a daughter-in-law we are in love with her, and she is so smart and such a good mama, and I watch her talk to my grandbabies, and she makes sense. And it's just made me look back. And I think I said some crazy mess. But I was tired. So she was worried about who was going to heaven, and she asked me about J-Lo. And this was years ago, and I'm a huge J-Lo fan. And she said, Mommy, is J-Lo going to heaven? Just let me tell y'all, I was in a bad place, okay? I was in a bad place, and I think I'd gone up a size in my pants. And she asked me about J-Lo. She goes, is she going to heaven? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. I think she needs to mature spiritually. And she's going through a lot of men right now. I said it. I remember saying it, and it was wrong. And I'm sorry. And I should have never said it. One reason I shouldn't have said it, I went through as many men as J-Lo ever thought about going through, honey. It's terrible. Terrible. The only difference was mine were not successful people. So real quick, let's just recap some of J-Lo's men. We don't have time for all of them, but remember that little first one, the backup dancer? Remember him? Chris? I think his name is Chris. What happened to him? Has anybody checked on him? And then she was with Ben Affleck the first time, and they could have eaten each other's lips off. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was too volatile. And then he married little Jennifer Garner. I know, and I've never met her, but she looks like she'd be precious, and she looks like she shops at the Loft, like everybody else. This was Jeannie, who's a good friend of mine, and I dropped my little children off that morning, and I came back that afternoon, and Jeannie saw me walk in, and she grabbed her chest and said, "Oh my gosh, Leanne, how are you walking? Do you need me to call somebody? Do you need to go to the hospital?" I said, "What are you talking about, Jeannie?" She said, "Maggie said you had surgery today. She's asked for prayer. We've been praying for you over the intercom all day." I said, "Jeannie, I got my IUD replaced." I want you boys in North Carolina to know, honey, that I was very fertile. I was very fertile, praise God. I was as fertile as a Napa Valley. And I think it's because I'm from farming people. We killed our own beef. And I've got thick ankles and I can work in the fields. But anyway, I had to get an IUD every 5 years because Chuck Morgan didn't get a vasectomy. But whatever, it's okay. Let me tell y'all that precious Christian school put me on a meal chain. They put me on a meal chain. And somebody brought me a meatloaf that afternoon. And it was a good one. And so my hope and prayer, and I mean this, my hope and prayer for all of y'all is that y'all have a good friend who'll make you a meatloaf when you get your IUD replaced. I know. But y'all, people ask me all the time, they go, "Does Chuck Morgan get mad at you talking about him?" And I go, "No. He wants me to talk about him. He'll say, 'Tell him this.'" He goes, "Why don't you tell him about the time I got arrested?" Okay. It was over 25 years ago. We had 3 little children under the age of 5, and his company sent us the very first trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And I was so tickled that I was going to get to go. I'd never been anywhere like that. And my little mom and daddy took care of my babies for a week for me, so I didn't have to worry about them. And I was so excited. We flew out of our little airport in Knoxville, Tennessee. It took all day, like 12 hours, like mules, trains, planes, boats, I don't know, to get on the other side, the Pacific side. And we get in a hotel room. And I had to do unspeakable things. For 7 days. I never saw Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. By the end of that week, I was depleted. And then it was time to fly all the way back. Took another 12 hours to get back. We get into East Tennessee to our little airport, and we landed at midnight. And we had to drive up into East Tennessee where we were living, and I thought, if I could just put my hands on those babies and go to bed, everything's going to be all right. And but darn, if Chuck Morgan doesn't get pulled off by the police, I think he was going too fast. And what he ended up getting arrested for, it wasn't something bad, but we didn't know that. I think it was another ticket that he needed to pay. And we're on the side of the road, and the police car's in front of us, and I'm looking through the headlights at the police, and I'm thinking, this won't take long. We'll be out of here before you know it. I'll be home. They come around and they get his license, and then they get him out of the car and they take him around the front. And I'm watching all this in the headlights, and they cuff him. And he turns around at me, and I go, And he mouthed something at me like, "Oh, good Lord, Leanne." And my whole life flashed before my eyes. I thought, he's in a drug cartel. He has another family in Idaho. I've always thought he had another family in Idaho because all of our married life he has said, "I told you that," and he hasn't. He thinks he's told me stuff, and he has not. And I've said, I've never heard that before in my life. Finally, one day I go, "Are you telling a woman in Idaho all this?" I said, "Are you going to let her go to Panera, Chuck?" Okay, let me tell y'all that Chuck Morgan, when we met, we were at the University of Tennessee. Go Vols. And he was getting a master's in business and making straight A's and working 3 jobs and wooing me. And I was a wreck, honey. I barely got out of University of Tennessee. I graduated through the skin of my teeth. It took me years. I would drop out, go back, all that. Okay. But when I knew that I was going to get to marry Chuck Morgan, I thought, oh my gosh. He is so smart. He can do anything. He's going to take care of everything. He's going to work like a mule. And I'm just going to have a ball. I'm just going to diddle, 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 diddle. Well, we married, and I had my first baby by him. And it dawned on me one day. I thought, he's smart at work. Not at home. And I thought, oh no. Surely I'm not in charge. Surely I'm not going to be the one to have to tend all this. Because it was like 3 years before that I was dancing to Prince, When Doves Cry. You know, I was like... Well, let me tell you when it really freaked me out. I had my second baby. She was born April the 3rd. This was the last week of March. I was going to go at any time and give birth. And a big snow came in East Tennessee. There was snow on the ground. And I had my oldest baby Charlie was 2. He had quit taking a nap, was still in diapers. But he was a precious baby, but very active. And he would beat on the front door trying to get out so he could run down the yellow line of the highway. And I was worn to a frazzle. And I was about to give birth at any minute, and I got strep real bad. And my OBGYN was Pete, who was in our Sunday school class. And he was so cute. And I hated for him to see me that way. But Pete said, "You got a horrible case of strep. I'm going to have to put you in the hospital, Leanne, overnight. You're going to have to get a bag of fluids and rest." And I said, "For real? For real? I get to go in the hospital overnight? It's like somebody sent me to Turks and Caicos." They took me to the hospital, Chuck and had our 2-year-old Charlie, and they dropped me off early that morning and then disappeared. And didn't come back until late that night. And I said, "Where have you been?" And he went, "Nowhere." I said, "What are you doing wearing a sweatsuit and you're sweating?" He said, "Okay, Leanne, I've been playing basketball at the rec center." I said, "Full court?" He went, "Yeah, why?" I go, "Who was watching our baby while you were playing full court basketball?" And I looked down and my baby's got on a diaper swollen down to his ankles. And I said, "What has he eaten?" And he said, "Eaten?" I said, "Chuck, listen to me." I go, "They're going to discharge me tomorrow at noon and they need you to bring me an outfit." Let me tell y'all, what he brought me to the hospital. He brought me a pair of panties that were a triangle with strings on it. My belly button was that big. My stomach was out to here. I had to somehow try to get these panties on. I think I was crowning. Those panties were the size of Mark Anthony. He brought me a pair of 6-inch pumps. Black pumps. Okay, you girls that are my age, do y'all remember when Kathy Lee Gifford had her own line of maternity wear at Walmart? Did y'all remember that? It was to die for. It was very inexpensive, basic pieces, mix and match. I loved it. And then something happened with a sweatshop overseas. And they shut her down, and I was devastated. But anyway, he brought me a pair of Kathy Lee Gifford summer capris. Summer. There was snow on the ground in East Tennessee. Summer capri. He brought me a summer top that was not maternity. So it hit me about right there. And then a big old fake fur black coat that I definitely danced a prince in a club, honey. And I remember those sweet nurses rolling me out. And I know they got back in that hospital and looked at each other and said, "She's a prostitute." Let me tell y'all about my precious grandbabies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm in love with them, and I hope I have 10 more, but I've got 2 boys, and they are 2 and 4. And my oldest one calls me Grandmama. And when he spends the night, he'll hold on to the railing and hold on to my hand, and he'll say, "Hold on, Grandmama, hold on." He thinks I'm feeble. It's very different being a mama than a grandmama. They're both wonderful, but they're very different. This is the difference, I think. When my babies want something, I'm going to give it to them. And my boy and his wife are wonderful parents, but they say crap to me. Things like no more riding toys. And I'm like, okay, but I cannot take back this Chevy with a gooseneck. And then they said to me the other day, "We're going to have to wean this one off his pacifier." And I was like, yep, that's a good idea. And then I went home and ordered as many as I could off the internet. Now I know why my little mom and daddy acted the way they did. They helped me so much, and my children would spend the night with them. And I remember going to pick them up, and I said to my little daddy, "Daddy, they've got a yellow film over their teeth. Had they brushed their teeth since we've been gone?" And my daddy shook and got so mad at me and said, "They didn't want to." My little mama, Lucille, every time when they were little, they'd go visit them, Mama would sling open that back door and say, "Welcome. Here's some magic markers right on the wall. Come on into Mama's house and go back and get Mama's bed and take this bucket of chicken with you. Take this bucket of chicken with you and this little bag of mini marshmallows and waller in Mama's bed. And watch Disney until 3 a.m. in the morning." I do the same thing, honey. I do the same thing. I know. Who Who doesn't love chicken in the bed? And let me tell y'all that we beg them all the time to go on. I've had it. Yeah. Inflammation in our feet. Y'all know what causes that? White flour and sugar. My husband does not spend money and does not believe in anybody being comfortable. Really. He does not believe in luxury. He believes in suffering. And this is one thing that he strongly believes in. He believes in all of our family driving cars until the wheels fall off in the interstate. He finds joy having to come get somebody. All my children have driven old cars that look like they're about to fall apart. This is what he does for me. He'll buy me a car about a year old, pay cash for it, and then make me drive it the rest of my life. I put my foot down last year because I was driving a 2009 white Honda Pilot. If you don't know what that model looks like, it looks like I was delivering Lay's potato chips. And I never felt pretty in it. I really did. It had over 235,000 miles on it. And the lights started flashing in it saying, "Get out, Leanne. Get out." He drives a 2007 Tahoe and the T and the A are missing. And if I was home tomorrow, we would be pulling up in that big Tahoe to the Baptist church in the doorway. And when church is over, my husband wants out of there and doesn't want to talk to anybody. And see, that's my time to fellowship. And he drives that big old Tahoe up to the front door of the Baptist church and goes, and he always says, "You're the last one in the parking lot." I said, "There's going to be a lot of people at my funeral." I've built relationships with people. He goes, "Okay, fine. I'll have to have mine in a yogurt shop." She's called me today and said, "Mom, are you okay? How did your show go last night?" And I go, "Good." So the day before, she goes, "Did you make it to Huntsville?" I said, "Yes, baby. Thank you. Tell your daddy." Curtis, he was so in love with me, honey. Stalked me, bought me presents, did all that. We will be married 29 years. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I truly believe that he would not pull me out of a burning vehicle. Okay, here's something that's different. Now that they're having little children, so different than when I had mine. There was a book that I read in and out, and I bet a bunch of y'all that are my age read this one too. What to Expect When You're Expecting. Yeah, it was a hateful book. It was a hateful book, but it was true. And they would say things to you like, "You're going to have a hemorrhoid in the 7th month on the 4th day." At 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And you'll be like, it's terrible. Back then, everybody was terrified about food allergies, and that was a big thing that they stressed, and our pediatricians. And I remember having this whole big chart in my kitchen on the wall that told me, my boy, I wouldn't let him have sweet potatoes until August after I had cleared the squash in July. That just crazy. And I did perfect with him. The second one came along, did okay with her, really did. That third one came along. We were at the McDonald's. I had two playing one in the balls and one up in a tube. And that my baby child did not have any teeth yet. She was in a high chair, and I threw a cheeseburger onto her high chair, and she gummed it down. And a woman came over the intercom and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but your baby has pooped in the tube." So then I would have to go up in the tube, get my baby, pull my baby down through the tube. Do y'all remember playing in the balls? My children loved the balls. And Lord, we had a ball going. Me and my friends would go to anywhere that they had a bunch of balls and tubes, and little children would be playing in a dirty diaper and swim by on top of the balls. And then like a chicken nugget, they're going through. You think about all this with COVID. There's no way they'd let any of that happen. Good night. You think of Chuck E. Cheese? That was a free-for-all. Mine loved it. Okay. Let me tell y'all this. Baby food has changed, and I didn't know this. When I was having my babies, you had little baby food jars. They've still got maybe 2 of those on the grocery store thing. Now it's in pouches. Everything's in pouches, and I don't think they're worried about food allergies. My grandbaby had a pouch that had turmeric, cashews, and squash in it, all squished together. And now they don't feed babies with spoons. They just squirt that pouch in their mouth. Everything's on the go. They just squirt and go, squirt and go. And I'm worried about it. I really am. I think there's going to be a whole generation that doesn't know how to use utensils. Okay, the 5 love languages. All right. Me and Chuck Morgan in Sunday school class went on a retreat, and they talked to us about the 5 love languages. You know, and it's written by little Gary Chapman, who is a doll and tiny and does, that man's probably getting in his 90s, and he does sit-ups every day. And that little thing, and I got to meet him later. He was a doll. But anyway, the 5 love languages, if you don't know about that, you've got to get it. There was a 5 love languages for your marriage, and then there's one for your children. And you need to get that. Everybody's got a love language. And you take the test. You got to read the book and take the test. Well, you don't read the book. I didn't. But you can take the test. I like to read books about Hollywood murder. So, anyway, you take the test, and then and your husband takes the test, and you find out what his love language is, and he finds out what your love language is. And if you find that out, then you can feed them their love language. And then, so I can feed Chuck Morgan his love language, and then his love tank fills full. If I don't, he could go to work and be at a water fountain, and some whore comes up to him and starts feeding him his love language, and then he feels a tingle, and then Satan swoops in. So these are the 5 love languages. Quality time. If you may know somebody that just wants you to sit on the couch and watch ESPN with them. Something like that. Then there's gifts. That's my sister's love language. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Just so you thought of her, if you buy her a card and a rose from the grocery store, she'll bawl her eyes out. And then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. But physical touch. Physical touch, which I know every woman in here is like, that's my husband. Physical touch. But it's not that kind of physical touch. We're talking about the physical, when you know people that just want to hug you and squeeze on you and all that all the time. That's their love language, is physical touch. But women think, that's my husband's, and he's on me like a duck on a June bug. But that's not the... All right, and then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all Chuck Morgan has to do is say, you look beautiful tonight. You are a good mama. That Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then my love tank feels full. And then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. See? It works out, you know? It's God's way. And then my husband's is acts of service. So for him to feel loved, I have to go in the garage and build a set of shelves. I like a clean house too. But I'm too fun to clean. I want somebody else to do it, you know? So to make my husband happy, I got to where I would just pour bleach in certain parts of the house. And so when he came home, he'd smell it and think that I had been cleaning. It worked for a little while, and then he caught on to me. And he said, if you'll have sex with me twice a week, I'll get you a maid. No. And then, he said, well, if you don't start taking care of my needs, I guess I'm going to have to get a girlfriend. I said, oh, dear Lord, say it's not so. I said, well, make sure that she's stout and that she can mow, because I need some help. Meets the Olympics, really. It's gymnast. They're gymnasts. And there's one in Knoxville called the Sharks. And they said, drop your baby off and she can try out to audition, whatever you want to call it. So I dropped her off, and they ended up putting her on a bad Mama Jamma team because all the little children her age came up to hear on her. And somebody's got to throw them up in the air. So they were thrilled with her, and they treated us like royalty. But anyway, they said, you're going to come in here twice a week, learn a 2-minute routine. It's going to cost you $150 a month. It's like, okay. They said, there's a uniform that you're going to order, and it comes to here. It's going to expose her stomach. She's going to have a tiny skirt on with a slit in it with a glitter panty underneath it. It's $300. I said, that's a whore outfit. And it came with its own bag of whore makeup. So that all the little children could look alike. And they said, y'all are going to travel to faraway lands and compete against other little whore children. So we went to like Cincinnati or Atlanta, and we had to get hotel rooms and the gas and all of that. And then you drive up to a big coliseum, a huge coliseum, and there's tens of thousands of little whore children walking around. And my husband said, there could be pedophiles here. This is the ugliest thing I've ever, something's not right. Okay, so then they said, you're going to pay $150 for your baby to be in this competition. You're going to have to pay $30 to put a band on to get in and watch your baby in this competition. Somebody was selling corn dogs for $15. Okay. They start out with the babies, so it goes from 5 to 18 ages. So the babies come out in a tiny little skirt about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's All the Single Ladies. And their little mamas are in their 20s. And they're not bitter yet. And they're in the front doing every move to keep their baby on track because they're babies and they need to be at home breastfeeding. So they move up throughout the day into my baby's age, and they're the reef sharks. They call out that name, honey, for 2.5 minutes. My baby throws little children up in the air, flinging little children, broken out in a sweat, working like a Trojan. Did you see my Spanx? Okay. All right. One of my girls said I look like Miley Cyrus in the Wrecking Ball in my spank. But anyway, so she throws his little children up. The little children she's throwing up in the air are the flyers. They call them the flyers. And they're freakishly tiny little children. I don't know where these people come from. Their mamas are freakishly tiny. I mean, I come from big people. I've got thick ankles. I can work in the fields. And the whole time she's throwing them in there, these little girls are going. And nobody knows why, really. So at the end of the routine, after the 2.5 minutes, the finale, everybody hunkers down on the stage, puts their forehead on the stage, and my baby is the finale. She pops up and has a little child's foot in her hand and holds that child's foot. I would put it all the way up, but my dress is tight in the back. But anyway, she holds this little child up over her head. Are y'all listening to me? I mean, it was a big deal. Could you hold her up over your head or vice versa? I mean, you know, it's a big deal. So anyway, everybody went nuts. But she said, after it was over, she goes, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go back to playing. She ended up playing volleyball the rest of her childhood. But she said, I'm keeping that whore outfit. She said, I'm going to get married in it. I think, oh gosh, I've got to go buy a bathing suit. And now it's over, and I barely even wore one. What I've been wearing is my swim dress. Because my life is over. I did a show for a bunch of women, and one of the women came up and she said, you know, you ought to go to Sears and get you a swim dress in the Land's End department. And I thought, should this hurt my feelings? So I did. I went to the Sears in Knoxville, Tennessee. They've still got our Sears open. I don't know if y'all's is open or not in Chattanooga. Okay, ours, you go in, there's not a soul in there. The lights are on. Nobody's shopping. Nobody's working. I mean, I felt creeped out, and I thought, are they running dope out of Sears? So I bought me a Land's End swim dress, and I gotta tell y'all, I'm beautiful in it. Okay. It gathers in right here where my hernia mesh is. And it shows my arms that I still have, because they're my daddy's. Jimmy Fletcher, I've still got his arms. Okay, I've still got my collarbones, praise God. And then it covers up the white flour and the sugar. So I just get a spray tan and I'm good. Well, for years, I was in torment wearing a miracle suit. I don't know if any of y'all have bought a miracle suit before. I know they've got them at y'all's Belk. I know they got them. And there's going to be a big gob of them hanging together, because they have hundreds of them. And I wore one year. I felt so desperate after I couldn't wear a bikini anymore. I wore a lavender one in Hawaii, and my husband and I went, and they took this scuba video of us scuba diving, and I popped that video in from Maui, and I thought, oh, I can't wait, and this like big lavender thing goes by, and I'm like, what is that? I destroyed that video. It's awful. But anyway, anyway, so I would get this miracle suit. They're at y'all's bilk, and it's got a big sign that says lose 10 pounds in 10 minutes. Miracle suit. You do, because you sweat yourself to death trying to get it on. Because it's got a girdle in it. The girdle's right through here because it's a one piece. So the girdle's right through here. It smooths you out real pretty through here because it squeezes your fat out in every other hole. And don't get it wet because somebody will have to cut it off of you. But I would get it every year because I felt desperate and I didn't know what else to do. Well, my girlfriend, the one with the poop, banked up poop, okay, she wanted one, and her 14-year-old daughter drove to Knoxville to the Dillards and got in the dressing room, and the 14-year-old was in there sacking her mama up in this bathing suit. They both broke out in the sweat over their lip, and the 14-year-old said, "Ew, Mom. Gross. Let's put it back and get out of here." She said, "I can't. I've got to buy it. I just peed in it." Little girl. And then I have my 22-year-old daughter and then my 20-year-old daughter, and she's still in Knoxville with us. And so these children grew up and left me with their daddy. And he is so not fun. And so he doesn't chat. And so I'm just at home talking to myself. And we've got 2 beagles. And we miss these children so bad that we just sit and kiss them in the mouth. So I'm trying to adjust to just being with their daddy. And so I bought him tickets to go see Def Leppard and Journey. Woo! Okay, let me tell you. Have y'all been to concerts lately with old people that are older than I am? Okay. We went, and I thought, oh, we're going to have a fun date. And I said, where are we going to go out to eat? And he goes, I don't have time for that. It was on a weeknight. So he went to the Pilot and bought himself a tall boy. And I think that's what it's called, and an egg salad sandwich from the Pilot. And so I didn't get to eat, and I was so hungry. And it dawned on me at a concert. You know, when I was 20 and I'd go to a concert, I was at University of Tennessee, and so I'd go to Thompson Bowling. And I'd wear a crop top. And I didn't care about eating. I wasn't hungry, you know. I was thinking what boys were going to be there, and I had on little bitty breeches. Because I still had a metabolism and my thyroid was acting right. Okay. So we go to Def Leppard and Journey, and everybody there is our age. And everybody's worried about the snack bar, first of all. And I was too. And I was so hungry, and I noticed that people had big Diet Cokes, like big buckets of Diet Coke, and were sucking on those big buckets of Diet Coke while the concert was going on. And every once in a while, somebody would stand up and then they'd sit back down. Journey has a little bitty feller from another country singing for them, and he's yummy. He looks like a little M&M. You could put him in your pocket. And you can tell he doesn't eat white flour and sugar. And he's singing and doing, he sounds like Steve Perry, but it's not the same. You know, Steve Perry's my boo. So it was like we were going to a tribute concert. But anyway, everybody in the band, besides this little fella, everybody had eaten white flour and sugar, and probably had done dope and drank terrible things, and everybody looked sick, and the bass player looked like somebody I had bought my jewelry from for years, and they were just barely a-going. And then Def Leppard came out, and it was that lead singer, I think, has got thyroid issues. His hair was just thin and didn't have a lux to it, and then I noticed he had little bitty tiny legs and a little pot-belly stomach. But he sang "Put Some Sugar on It," which I hate that mess. I am a Earth, Wind and Fire R&B gal, and I love my Journey, but I was like, this isn't my thing. And my husband every once in a while would go, and then just sit down, because he loves it. But anyway, this little man with the tiny little legs and the thin-in hair, and then he had this little bump right here, and I could tell that's a hernia. He's got a hernia. And I bet that he hadn't had time to get it fixed. He hadn't had time to put a mesh in. And you could just see it. It looks like my stomach, because I've had a hernia, but I've had mine fixed. And I thought, oh, bless his heart. But he'd do, and he'd prop a little thin, frail leg up on something. Oh, I thought, isn't it funny how things have changed since I went to concerts when I was 20? Everybody was walking out like this because everybody had inflammation in their feet. Trying to get to their car. And it was like 10 o'clock. I thought, what are we doing out here? What are we doing? We gotta get home. We gotta get in the bed. Because he is now since married and gone off with his wife and her people. And that's what boys do. They cling to their wife. That's biblical. He said to me, Mom, she is now my immediate family. You are my extended. That's what he said to me right before they got married. And he said, Mom, that's biblical. I'm supposed to cling to my wife. And I thought, why did I show him the Bible? Well, he has always been spiritually mature. We call him our little Billy Graham. My husband and I, we didn't do it. God did it. I'm full of sin. Okay. I've been washed in the blood, but I've been a horrible, horrible person. Not too bad, but okay. So this baby has been just like an old man all of his life. Let me give you an example. He had a little girlfriend in high school, and he would go over to her house and they'd watch movies. And he came home one night and he used to tell me everything. And I said, what y'all been doing? He said, well, we've been watching television and kissing on the couch. And I said, okay, baby, okay. That's all right, that's normal. But I said, before you know it, you've got your hand on somebody's leg, your arm around, and things can get out of control. And I just say, slow it down. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's gonna happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship on a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now, because I could get a new purse out of that. Okay, y'all, have you ever heard of lock-in? I know everybody in here that has been from Chattanooga has probably been raised in church. Okay, I don't know who that little darling, sweet fool was that came up with the lock-in. Some probably a little woman in a committee meeting. And she probably said, oh gosh, y'all, let's come up with something for all the hormonal teenagers. Let's gather them up and put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. So at the end of the routine, after the 2.5 minutes, the finale, everybody hunkers down on the stage, puts their forehead on the stage, and my baby is the finale. She pops up and has a little child's foot in her hand and holds that child's foot. I would put it all the way up, but my dress is tight in the back. But anyway, she holds this little child up over her head. Are y'all listening to me? I mean, it was a big deal. Could you hold her up over your head or vice versa? I mean, it's a big deal. No, you know what I've been thinking about? I thought about, Lord, Christmas is coming. And now I'm a grandmama and I'm out making a little money. But when I was a stay-at-home mom, when we first got started out and had little children, I remember thinking, oh my Lord, that Little Tykes kitchen's gonna sell out. And my husband doesn't like to let go of money till right at the end of Christmas. And I'm like, I got to get there. I'll do something nasty. I'm going to... Okay, I'll do something nasty in that big Dodge Ram in that mobile home parking lot. Yeah, and then I'll be able to get that Elmo. Yeah. Y'all won't believe the things I've done so my children could have a good Christmas. But they always did. Oh, you little mamas, God love you. And then you got to clean everything and cook and then wrap. I had a good friend that she said to her husband, if you'll wrap 3 Christmas presents, I'll have sex with you. She did. I remember that years ago, and I remember thinking, okay, I could do that. Maybe I could do that. My middle one, we go and get spray tans together, and I love them, and I feel thinner in them. If you're going through a hard time, go get a spray tan. Makes you feel like a movie star. Okay, well, we went the other night, and this is the difference for you young mamas out there. Like, women going like in your 20s and 30s and even in your 40s when you still are, have life left in you. Okay. There's something happens to you when you're in your 50s, and it is wonderful. You don't care, okay? You don't care about anything. All right. We go to get a spray tan, and y'all know about Snapchat. There's a thing called Snapchat where you can video somebody and send it to your friend. Okay. Or send it out to the world, I guess. All right. I'm completely naked with a plastic bag on my head. In the spray tanning thing, and it's like a car wash. It does this. And then you do. And then you do. And then you do. Okay. And when it's cold outside, it feels like needles going in you. It's so cold. Oh, that's awful. But anyway, she started filming me on Snapchat, completely nude. Now, in my 30s and 40s, I would have been hysterical, and I would have been in a bowl, and I would have been so torn up. In your 50s, at first I was like, and then I was like, I don't care. I think I may have gone. I don't care. I don't care. It's a wonderful feeling. I hope y'all can all get to that one day where you don't care. Honey, it's wonderful. I just don't care. Okay. All right. She is a beauty. And I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest, but she's always had a bunch of boys coming around wanting to date her. So there was one that came around, and he was a player. Do y'all remember that? Playa? Remember? So the young people call it playa. My husband's not a player. He doesn't chat at all. So he never sweet talked me or, he's not that way. Solid, though, solid. I've got good health insurance. But, like, he has never, charmed, not that kind of man. Okay. Well, she had this one coming around. He was a charmer. He was a player. And so he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful. And I'd be like, can I make you a casserole? And eventually they broke up, praise God, because I was exhausted. I was blowing my hair out every day and mopping the kitchen floor. My husband is a big old man, 6'4". Very Superman-like, broad shoulders, narrow hips. He weighs about 230, 250 if we're all on gluten. I am 5'8", I'm a big girl, and we breed big kids. So we had all these beautiful tall children. And my girls ended up playing volleyball and travel volleyball all over the United States, but they grew to be 5'8" and 5'9". We thought they were going to be taller. They wanted to be 6 feet so badly, and I finally said, do you really want to go into the transgender store and get your shoes? But anyway, so my baby child grew really quick, really fast, and I think it's all that chicken I fed her. Now we don't eat any hormones and anything, but back then we didn't know. So anyway, she grew really quick, really fast, and in elementary she was about 5'5", 5'6", and so she was taller than all the little children, and the principal and all the teachers. And she hated it. Was so self-conscious. But the good news is very athletic, very strong. And so all these teams around East Tennessee would call me and ask me, can she play goalkeeper for me in soccer? I'll buy her an iPhone. I'm not kidding. Can she play basketball for me? Because you just didn't see girls that tall and that strong and at that age. And I felt like LeBron James's mama. Is that him? LeBron James, little mama. And I lived through her. And I made her do all of that. And she hated it. She hated it. And so one day she came to us and she goes, I'm sick of all this and I'm not doing it anymore. She said, I want to cheer. I said, well, baby, we're big people. And years ago when it first came to Knoxville, I was traveling with Paula Deen, and she had these bodyguards that looked like movie stars, and I said, what do y'all do? And they said, CrossFit. And I said, well, I want to do it. Well, me and my friend, Church of God, Becky, Church of God, Becky and I joined the CrossFit in Knoxville. The CrossFit was run at the time by these little children. They were in their early 20s and they were beautiful and they looked like movie stars and their little fannies looked like baseballs. And I wanted my fanny to look like a baseball. So I made Church of God Becky join, and she'll do whatever I say. So anyway, and I call her Church of God Becky because she was raised Church of God, so sweet, sheltered. Like I have to explain things to her. Things like camel toe. So we first get to the CrossFit. And if y'all don't know what CrossFit is, it's military moves like push-ups, pull-ups, burpees. I hate a burpee. Okay, all these things, they would put like a tractor tire in the parking lot, and they'd set little Becky in it, and I would pull Becky across the parking lot as she was holding her purse. So I felt like a bad mama jamma, and I was so tickled and into it. And they came to us one day and they go, we want y'all to be in our contest. It's called a paleo contest. And it's going to be 10 weeks long. The men are going to be against each other and the women, and we're going to take your before and after picture, and whoever's body has changed the most at the end will win 3 months of free training. And I wanted to win that 3 months of free training because I didn't want to have to do something vulgar to my husband for the money. So we're going along, and one day they just pop up and go, okay, it's picture day. We're like, what? And they said, okay, take your top off and leave your exercise bra on and your spandex, your yoga pant, and we're going to take your picture. Well, I didn't want those young boys to not ever want to marry and have children. So I said, Becky and I are going to the back, and I needed to biz my bra so bad. It had no support to it, and it was a gray looking, it was white, but I needed to biz it overnight. I did not know. Anyway, we go back to the office, and I'm going to take Becky's picture, and she's going to take mine. And Becky went. And I said, what are you doing, Becky? Do you want to win this thing? I want to win it. So I took my spandex and shoved it under my stomach and went. That picture is on the internet.